Welcome everybody, my name's Lindsay and I'm about to introduce you to the flat earth physics of our realm. This is a new era for me because I've just bought myself a camcorder, and which means I don't have to rush any of my videos anymore into 30 minutes like I've been doing with the camera. So we're going to run over the flat earth design from the start, and hopefully those who are searching for the truth can understand what I'm saying and get a picture in their mind and start following me or any flat earth site. Excuse me. Now you'll have to excuse my coughing. This is the first time I've been sick for more than like 10 years. Well, I'm not actually sick, I've just got this cough and it's affecting my voice and my throat. So bear with me. So let's get into it, eh? I've got my new little pokey stick here, but let's just sort out a few facts, okay? Now we're going to try and keep religion out of this, okay? But we have to go. I need to refer to it now and then just so you get a bit of an understanding. You've got to realise that the Bible is actually a book of physics. It tells two stories. And it's basically showing us how Earth is connected to the human mind, consciousness, the human brain. You might see it here with the two hemispheres, centre, but we'll get into that in a minute. And it talks about, well, I think it's the Bible, or is it? Other esoteric knowledge, Egyptian maybe, where Earth comes from basically the black plane of the abyss, nothingness. And then it comes up out of the water, as it's described, where the waters are separated from the waters below, so it creates the atmosphere. Okay? So you have to imagine Earth coming from a flat, dark, plain void until the sun is illuminated. So when the sun is illuminated, which is on the 2D plane, you could call the ecliptic plane. It's right in the centre of the ecliptic plane. All the planets are around it. Right in the centre of the ecliptic plane, a circle, we have the black hole of creation. And you have to imagine that as being like a trumpet horn. All the sound comes out. Everything, our whole realm is based on sound, resonant frequencies, and sound creates colour. And it gives it, thanks to the light, we see all the colour and we see everything, we see all the images. But before the sun is illuminated, we did not exist. The energy was there, but no life has appeared because there's nothing to illuminate it. So you start with the flat black plane, is the 2D ecliptic plane, with the sun on the horizon of the black hole. And the sun moves around the black hole. Your science doesn't tell you the sun moves. They do if you go a bit deeper, but it's totally different. The sun moves around the black hole, centre. All the energy is coming out of that centre. So it's the strongest energy point. That's why the sun is illuminated right there on its horizon. All the other planets are out here doing their tracks. So imagine it like a racetrack. Who's going to win the race? The sun on the inside track or the horse out here on the outside track? Obviously the sun on the inside track. It's the quickest. Nothing passes the sun. Okay? You're going to need a brainwashing to start understanding all this. You've been indoctrinated all your lives. You've got to clean that out and start all over again. The truth has been hidden from you since you were born. So the sun is in there doing a circle around the black hole. And the sun sits in the Milky Way, and the Milky Way comes out of that black hole across the plane. Okay? We'll stop at that point, won't go any further for now. It comes out like a straw in a cup and spins around the horizon of the cup. That's your 24-hour day. And it's bent into the cup like this. And the sun is on the bend. It's in the Iliad, it's the kneecap. In Aborigines Dreamtime stories, this is described as the boomerang. Other stories, the elbow. And the sun is projecting out from this kneecap Okay, so that imagine the Milky Way tucked on the side of the black hole, and it projects its light across the black hole. The black hole is amplifying it, illuminating it, because the sun's a star, remember? It's come through the Milky Way and got caught on the horizon of the black hole. Sits there, it doesn't fall in the hole. Like a ring magnet, you've got to really try and push it into the centre hole. It just sits there and goes around the horizon. As it's going around, it's projecting the light out off its kneecap. So as it turns, it's the light, like a lighthouse beam, being projected out into our realm. That's the image we see, that projection. This isn't the sun we see. This is hidden, pure plasma. You can't see pure plasma. So it's sitting there, projecting its rays across the black hole, out across the ecliptic plane. Then it comes into our realm, but won't go there right now. Okay, so that's your 24-hour sun. The sun's out this side, and the Milky Way at night is on this side. This is what we see up in the night sky. The sun is in the middle. And realise this is the only time we actually see this image, is at the night time. So this image gets seen in our night sky. There's two ends to the Milky Way. There's a female end comes up from inside the glass up to the sun, and the other system comes over from the tropical zone this way to hit the sun. The two forces of nature. There's the female and the male. Okay? They hit the sun and create the hermaphrodite. The sun is a hermaphrodite, male and female. Realise that, okay? But just remember, this isn't the sun we see. The sun we see is projected out in our realm, out there. This is back in creation. The centre vortex of creation. So picture a vortex, a turning vortex with the 2D plane above. Just turning like this, 360 degrees over 24 hours. Turning the straw with the sun in it. That's your 24-hour day, okay? Now, once the sun got illuminated, you call it a Big Bang, call it whatever you want, but at some point it had to come along, bang, be illuminated. And when that was illuminated, bang, it highlighted this vortex below it. This is a 2D plane up here, so it comes back to nothing. That's the primordial deep, no light, no nothing, until the sun was illuminated. Then boom, out comes this 3D depth, which comes about through magnetism. Our whole realm is about magnetism. So you've got to think of it as a ring magnet with a very small pinhole in the centre. Okay? And it's got a magnetic flux. Well, we live on the plane of the magnet, but inside the flux. And this is the flux, what I've drawn on here. The 2D plane is down here. We live down here on the plane. But we cannot leave the flux. We're part of that electromagnetic field. Okay? So what the 2D plane with the illuminated sun has done is illuminated this 3D depth, which is all magical, and magic comes from magnetism. It doesn't really exist. Now you can refer back to a Ken Whelan video when he's dealing with the magnets, and you can see inside, when he's got all illuminated, there's all this 3D depth inside the ferrocell, yet it's only 2 microns thick or whatever, but it has all this depth in there. You think, what the heck? It doesn't really exist, but we come from that. We all exist due to this illumination from the sun. So the sun has illuminated our realm. This is why all the ancients worship the sun, because it's the creator of our 3D realm, all this depth. Okay, so you've got this vortex from 0 point center Arctic, you could say, coming up, spiraling up to the top 2D plane. Well, from the bottom, the Arctic, up to this wider area, to the plane, is just one S curve, one big S curve, and it sits in here above the Arctic. It's all hidden in here. We're all out here. It's all hidden in the centre Arctic, above the centre Arctic. Well, that S curve is where the moon and the stars are, because up on the plane you've only got the sun doing a circle and the planets. So this is the male end, the male of the two forces of nature. That's the male plane, and then you have the, like a woman's crutch, the V shape represents the female. Okay, so the male and the female come together to create the sun. So that's describing our realm. But if you go back before that, right back to the primordial plane here, you go back again. So you could say we've got the two forces of nature coming together, positive and negative, male and female, like in magnetism, a north and a south pole, coming together, boom, and bang, out comes the flat plane of inertia. Boom. Then you have the flat plane. Okay? But then we break it down again. So you've got the two forces, you've got one coming down here and one coming up here. But then you've got to forget all that, because what's below Earth does not concern us. We are now created up here on top of Earth. So like a magnet, you break it down again. So we come up here, and now we have the two forces of nature up here. Forget down there now. We live up here. So we have the female entity coming up off the Arctic, and we have the male end of the Milky Way coming over this way. And in here is the black hole. This gurgler represents the black hole. But realise what I've drawn here can all just go back to a flat plane of nothingness. So it's been highlighted, it's been microscopically projected, highlighted, magnified, whatever. Basically our realm is seen in a microscopic point of view, so you can bring it all back to one cell, a singularity. Even physics knows this. Okay, so we've got the female coming off the Arctic, spiraling up here to the sun, because it's so cold, but the sun is cold fusion, but it's still warmer than down here, so all that's shooting up to that warm area, spiraling up. Also, this whole vortex, you can say, is created through convection, hot and cold within our Earth. Okay, it all comes to the centre. Like magnetism, it all comes to the point of convergence in the centre of the magnet. All the winds come to the centre of the Earth. Here's the round flat Earth looking down on it, okay? So you look at our Earth, it's a dual system, male and female. Two ends of the Milky Way meeting the sun. So we have the sun here. We do not see pure plasma turning around the black hole, projecting its light out into our realm. Okay? So you need to stop that chapter in the story. Then we got to focus on our created realm. Okay? So let's start back at the base here. Understanding what flat Earth looks like from above, that no one can see. This is all non-physical, metaphysical, because at the end of the day, nothing is actually physical. So you have to imagine this. You've got the northern hemisphere, very small there, because everything expands out. Okay? Like this, a big puff cake. So there's Earth, the 2D plane of Earth we all live on. But we all exist inside the magnetic flux. That's the atmosphere. Well, it's a bit more than atmosphere. Atmosphere's only so high. But the gaseous layers that go right up to there. We can't get out. We're fixed. We're part of the light in this system, in the electromagnetic field. See, it's a dual system. There's the southern hemisphere all the way around here, then there's the tropical gap, and then you have the northern hemisphere. All the energy is in there. It's all confined, see, it all shrinks back into here. So that's a very strong force in there. But what's in there is out here in equal energy, equal potential energy. But it's more dispersed. So it's considered the weak force compared to the strong force, because there's a magnetic cycle that moves all the way around 360 degrees, and it moves in cycles. So there's always a potential difference there between the strong force and the weak force. So this takes you back to capacitance. You've got to understand with our system, you've been lied to with the globe model. They tell you this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole, or North Pole, South Pole, and they ball. No, it's a lie. They make two compasses to deceive you, because the northern hemisphere in here, up, if you want to consider it the ball, up here, is the same as down there. They're both Arctics, both high pressure, compass dips at both ends, and the winds are both carried to the either side of the tropics. So you've got to understand, if you use a northern hemisphere compass, it obviously points north, and it's weighted on the southern end to stop it from dipping and rubbing on the bottom of your plate. So the needle, stop the needle from dipping, okay? So it's weighted at this end. So let's say you're facing north and you want to travel all the way to the southern perimeter. So you cross the tropics to come this way, your compass is going to spin around and point that way. It's going to start pointing to what they have called the South Pole, because that's another North Pole. They're both North Poles. They're both the strong forces. Don't let me get you confused. Just follow along with me, okay? Weak and strong. Just consider them both the same at this stage. So it's still weighted at this end to stop it from dipping down. But what they've done in the southern hemisphere compass, like I said, it's still weighted. They've just taken the arrow from the north, when it swings around, they put the arrow this end. So it's always facing towards the Arctic, not the Antarctic. Okay? So there's two North Poles. So we have a North Pole in the centre, and we have a North Pole all the way around here. It's north all the way around, because you have to understand the projection. Everything comes from the centre and projected to the other end. So north is projected there. It's a mirror effect type thing. But you have to consider it as in meridians. Each meridian is mirrored from the north to the north, north to the north. Every man standing on this earth is on a meridian line from dead centre to this other north. Look, Enoch, he referenced the ends of the earth. No north or south pole. That is only Freemason trickery. These are the ends of the earth. We have to stop using north and south poles unless you're quite acquainted to this knowledge and understand that's north and these here are south. So you have to realise the two south poles, the magnetic field is in the wind and it moves towards the tropics. You can see this in meteorology, how the wind comes out of the north and blows around to the Tropic of Capricorn, out of the north blows around in a curve to the Tropic of Cancer. They are rushing to the south poles. Remember, the compass dips here and the compass dips anywhere around here. But here and here, the compass will point upward. Okay, the compass no longer dips into the ground, it dips upward. So the compass will dip where the magnetic field is coming from. So the magnetic field is rising in the north poles and dipping in the south poles. So they come up from the north, up from the far reaches of the earth, comes up to the south pole, drops straight down to the ground, flows along the ground, then up at this north pole towards the sun, but not all goes into the sun, the pure plasma sun, not the sun we see. So the magnetic field carries on up here to the tropic zone of Cancer, drops straight down to the ground and along the ground out to the other end, out to here, just come up again. So there you have the figure 8, mentioned many times as the infinity symbol in esoteric knowledge in history, right through history for thousands of years. The S symbol, so you can use that S, the figure 8 symbol either vertically or laterally across the earth. Won't get into that right now, but you can see that in the sun and the lemma anyway. So understand this is the North Pole in here, okay? The North Pole goes right out there. That's the equator in the centre of the tropics. The equator. So what we've done is we've taken this flat earth design here. We've put a cut through it. Put a cut through it, then opened it up and started looking through it. So you look through the cut, you've got the south, so-called south, the tropical zone, the north zone, north, see a little north in here. Don't get too confused with how this is drawn like this to show you the true perspective, how it expands out. But back here, I've just made it dual, because man only sees his own personal arc of horizon. He does not see the difference here. He cannot see expansion and contraction, because man, everything as it moves out from the center arc expands in the ether, everything. So it's all relative to the observer. He's not to know, because everything's relative to the observer. Everything is expanded with him. So he'll get way out here and he's a giant compared to the guy back here in the north. But no one is to know, because everything's relative to the observer. Okay? So try not to get confused with this, where I come over here and it's equal. You've got to understand the two systems. Okay? So consider that the southern hemisphere here, excuse me, the tropical gap, your little half of the northern hemisphere just here. Then you got dead center. The dead center is dead center right here. Center of the vortex. As we go up, we can't get in here. Planes cannot fly in here. Well, the planes can only go up about here anyway. Planes only fly about this high. Okay? All the magic's happening up in here. Okay, so that was one half to there. Then you've got the other side, the other half of the northern hemisphere, which is to there, the tropical zone and the southern hemisphere. Tropical zone, southern hemisphere. Okay? Now we go back to the gap. Remember I showed you the gap? This gap. That's where the energy has been created in our realm, in our created realm. Okay? Just as we sort of understand things in physics. And it's called capacitance. So you look up capacitance and understand how these two poles are the same. But they're not equal. One is strong, one is weak. So you could have more windings than this side here. There's a potential difference. You get that potential difference right with the right gap. You create this induction, electromagnetic induction. Okay, so this is all the way around here. And where are we supposed to see our sun? in the ecliptic plane they call it, and it's basically around that tropical zone, right? Give or take. Well, it's moving around every day, isn't it? So you've got a moving current. What does a moving current do? Moving current creates a changing magnetic field. And this is what our field of Earth is doing. It's changing. It's coming up here, coming down to the ground, under there, then coming back up over this way. So as it's crossing each time, it's a changing magnetic field. Okay? So it's coming from the south to come over and pop up as north. It's north coming over and becoming south, coming up here and becoming a north. It's going north, south, north, south. It keeps changing. There's a changing magnetic field in that infinity symbol, okay? And we're taught here on Earth more about a changing magnetic field creates the electrical, the current, the spark, illumination. So, but they both feed each other. So you could say the changing magnetic field from the north over to the south into the north, is creating the moving electrical. And in this situation, that's the way you should look at it, because the magnetic field's merging towards the south poles here, the tropics, is what's feeding the sun. Okay? So what you can do is we'll just draw one magnetic cycle. It's all going this way. This way. So there's one magnetic cycle from out of the south. And then you have one coming out of here from the north. You've got the two. They're mirrored. And these two coming together is bang on where the sun will be at that particular time of the day. But the magnetic field's always moving, and so is the sun. So the sun is being moved all the way around the tropical gap through magnetic induction between the two poles to these two plates, magnetic, look it up, capacitor plates. So the sun's being created in the gap. You know the gap? The gap between a stator and a rotor? Check that out. Same thing. Testing you all about it. Realise everything on Earth, everything we do on Earth replicates creation. One way or another goes back to the design of creation. And every animal on Earth represents one aspect of creation. Creatures, animals, all life. Now you look at this design here, what does it look like? Well, if I draw more lines in here and put all the curves on here like this, it looks like an enemy. See an enemy, that's the one. All different shapes though, but to see an enemy, we get them here in New Zealand, we put your finger in the middle there and it sucks on your finger. Okay? And there's many other creatures from the sea that represent this model, but we'll get into that some other time. Okay, so you understand that flat earth model? That's the slice through, looking at through one half, looking through inside it, looking inside it. So we all exist inside here, okay? Walking on the plane in here. Aeroplanes fly along here, okay? Now, your science tells you that the poles are strongest in their magnetic force, which they are. They're both north poles, both dip and both strong. And they tell you it's very weak at the equator, through the middle here. And they're right. You know why? Because there's no magnetic field crossing. Like I've shown you, the magnetic field comes up here, dips down and goes through the ground. It does not cross the tropics. There's another huge lie of them telling you the magnetic field comes out of the bottom of their ball all the way around to the top of their ball, from one magical end of their stick to the other magical end of their stick. All delusional, just pure evil, just pure lies, straight out lies. So there's no magnetic field crossing the tropics. What some people aren't too bright, and they say, well, how come I can still use a compass? Well, if the magnetic field has come up here and built up on the side here, and the field's come over here and built up on the side here, what's your compass going to do? Is it going to point to either or? Why wouldn't it? Okay? It's not going to point sideways. It's going to have to point between these two, between here and here. And that's the only place on Earth where you'll get a direct compass reading between dead north and the southern field around here on your meridian, a meridian line. You know what a meridian is? A meridian, that's a meridian from dead north out to the south. And it's a nice symmetrical arc. Okay? And that's what they use for the GPS and all celestial navigation system. But we won't go there today. It's a nice symmetrical arc all the way to there, from dead centre north out to the south. So you consider that the same as this. Look, all the way to dead centre north. Then you have another one come over here, don't you? Come over here. So don't look at this big hump as being Earth. Earth is down here as the 2D plane. Okay? With all your mountains and whatever on here. All the way down in here. That's the flux. The flux of the magnet. Earth is like a giant magnet. Even science tells you that. Okay, so realise if you're travelling between the Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, somewhere along the line you might come across the doldrums where it's dead and flat and quiet. Because like I said, the magnetic field is in the wind. The magnetic field doesn't cross the tropics. Guess what? Exactly. The southern hemisphere wind does not cross over to the northern hemisphere wind. They are separate. Now you understand the two separate hemispheres. You need to go and do some research and find out why isn't there two separate night sky rotations. Oh, there is. Oh, okay. Okay, well there is. And they tell you, you look south, you see one, and you turn around and look north, you see the other one. Well, that's a simple explanation for a real simple mind. But if you've got a little bit of intelligence, you'll soon find out you can stand anywhere out here in the southern hemisphere or anywhere in the northern hemisphere and look and see both rotations. How do you see two rotations? If you're standing on the outside of a ball, anywhere around that ball, why are you seeing two skies doing this? Standing up here, looking out there or out there? Come on, use your brains. Can only happen on the flat earth system because there's a rotation out here and there's a rotation in there, separated by the celestial tropical gap. Now a lot of you won't understand this celestial tropical gap because you haven't done any time-lapse photography or star trailing. But at a particular time of the year, the Earth's magnetic field has separated. It's like a dual cell. It combines, not fully, and then it stretches out and then pops out. It's all to do with magnetism. Once again, you can go back to a Ken Wheeler video where he's showing the magnet around the top of the ferrocell, raising it, lowering it, and lowers it. You see the light pop out all around the southern hemisphere. Well, that's what happens in the December solstice. And then the magnetic field comes up, it all comes back up. Up and in, down and out. This is what Earth's toroidal field is doing over the year. Expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. That's what happens over a year. The sun, it turns every day around the earth, every day winding its way up and then back down again. But at the same time as it's going around every day, we go back to the ecliptic plane, the 2D ecliptic plane. As a circle and a flat plane. The speaker's fallen off again. I'll find another system next time. The ecliptic plane, a 2D flat circle, flexes like this over the air. And the sun follows the flexing of the ecliptic plane. Deep in science they tell you the sun follows the Earth's magnetic field. And that's the flexing of the field, down and out. Then it comes back up to equilibrium. That equilibrium isn't the equinox. That's the 6th of September or the 6th of March at the sun's crossing in the analemma. Then it starts going up and in, right up to the June solstice. The sun's following up like that. Okay? 23.4 degrees tilt. 23.4 degrees tilt. The Earth isn't doing that. No. Just the 2D plane back here where the real sun is. Not our sun. Our sun follows this image. So if the ecliptic plane is bowing down like this, then the real sun is being projected onto it where we see it out here. So the sun will come down like this, December solstice, then it goes back up to equilibrium, then goes like that right up to the June solstice. That's where it's flexing, in the middle there. There's a mythological story. It talks about the king, Zeus, whatever, what do you want to call him, Jesus, Christ the Son. He doesn't mind them towering over him. He's the king. No one's supposed to tower over the king, but he doesn't mind. That's just the way it is. Okay? Bowing, raising your head, whatever. Down and out, all the way around the southern hemisphere, down and out. As it's turning every day, it's fully down and out. That's why the sun pops out around the south. And for a couple of weeks you actually see the sun fully illuminated out here. But because we're further back in, we've come away from it, we don't experience that. Only those way out in Antarctica will experience it. And he only sees his circle here within his arc of horizon. He doesn't see the whole earthly system. Like I said earlier, the sun is in many places but only seen in one. Man's personal arc of horizon. He sees the sun come into his horizon. How far away is your horizon? 5k? A little bit further if you climb up. Well, it comes into your horizon. Hasn't come up from below the horizon. It comes into your perspective, into your horizon, from being way out there and around the other side of the earth. Comes into your horizon and goes over your arc of horizon to go down your horizon, not below it, then go out of your horizon. Okay? So you have to imagine that being projected from the real sun, coming around and then swinging over your dome, your personal arc of horizon. So imagine the light hitting your arc, it will swing over your arc, won't it? Before it moves on to someone else's arc. Here's your arm of the clock, works just like a clock. Comes around, swings up and over your dome, and off it goes. Into your horizon, out of your horizon. Declination during the season is the expansion and contraction. Okay? Let me find a couple of examples. 1 second. Here we go. So imagine this is the southern hemisphere. So we go back to the bigger ratio and the small ratio, because it's actually a 2 to 3 ratio, which takes you into phi, into geometry. But at the same time, it might be easy for you just to imagine the two circles being the same. But I have these, and this is how it works. This is the southern hemisphere, the bigger southern hemisphere. They come along, and consider this the magnetic field of two cells. They come and overlap and merge together. And look, it produces the head and the body. And this takes you into religion, the baby, the body and the head, all the energies in the head. It's all about the head, the northern hemisphere. You know, the small, look at the sun's analemma. It's got a smaller head in the north end, bigger bottom end. Well, this is it. It goes down into a mente. That's the overlay. And then as the season opens up towards the southern hemisphere, summer, it pulls away, and then pop, all the light is illuminated around the south. Hasn't fully taken it off here, but that's another story. But you just got to just go with me, okay? When it's fully overlaid back this way, all the energy is popped back up around the north, up and in. That's why they get the sun for 24 hours a day for a couple of weeks. Okay? You've got to understand this overlay. And the Bible has got mentions earthquakes at that particular time because it's referring to subduction. Subduction. Okay? In the mythological stories, Greek stories, it's going down into a mente. Down into a mente. Egyptians is coming out of the abyss. Going down into the abyss. Coming out of the abyss. Persephone, Demetrius story. Virgo, Demetrius disappears down for a few months, then comes back up and out. Well, how's the story go? She's eaten some pomegranate. She comes up. Well, pomegranates represented by the sun all the way around here in the December season as the reflected sun, the pure plasma projection into the southern hemisphere. It's infinite. So it's completely illuminated, but you can draw the suns all the way around here, and they represented the pomegranates. Okay? And in the Bible, it's got them drawn in here because they come out of there. That's the centre vortex, just like in the centre of the earth. Everything comes out like a Fibonacci, golden ratio. It's going deep, okay? And then it comes back in and does this. It's going deep. But anyway, imagine these magnetic field waves all the way around there. That was called the plowshare. Look up what a plowshare looks like. It's the wave of a toroidal field. And they called this the pruning hook. And then you've got the pomegranate. Nobody understands this stuff, so don't try and search it out because you won't understand it. I'll tell you that now. So it's all described in physics, mythological stories. All the ancients knew exactly how the earth worked. Okay? So let's go back to understanding man's arc of horizon. So imagine a man, he's on the earth, that's his little arc of horizon. Everything in the night sky comes back to his little arc of horizon. This is why in celestial navigation or apps like Stellarium, they want to know exactly where you are. They want your GP point, so they can give you they want to know your zenith. So here you are. They need to know this point here in the starry system of the sky. They know where you are on Earth. They know what's up above you here. Then they give you the whole starry picture of what you're looking at. Everything passes over your arc of horizon. This is how you do celestial navigation. You take a reading from the horizon up to the star. Back to you with your sextant. You've got to allow for this distance here along the line. It's going a little bit deeper, but this is basics, okay? Everything is perpendicular to the observer, back to the observer's eye. I should have drawn it to his head. Okay? So you take that reading, but they want to know the balance to make up the 90 degrees. Then you calculate that by 60 nautical miles, and it gives you a distance from where you are around the GP point of that star you just measured. So you'll be anywhere around that star from that distance to there. And that just goes, you keep doing it, but that's just the basics, okay? You are always 90 degrees to a zenith, your zenith. Most indoctrinated people don't even know what zenith means. That is your zenith. the top point of your arc of horizon. Everything is about that, even in religion. The door head. You've got to imagine the ancient door heads, they're talking about your arc. What's happening up here at the top of the arc at your zenith. Okay? Now let's go back to our flat earth design here. Our slice through the middle. So the field goes like this. You've got to imagine the flux of a magnet is like this, all the way over it like this, and then down under here, isn't it? But like I say, that doesn't concern us. You don't live down there, okay? But the magnetic field doesn't cross the tropics up here. And in here is where we have the S-curve of creation. Where do you think the Superman story came from? It's the Arctic. And, you know, in the movies or the series, they used to show you him going up there and all the crystalline structures. Well, that's basically what the centre North Arctic is. It's like a mirrored effect. Beyond man's comprehension. I'm not even going to try and explain it, okay? Dead centre is a place called inaccessibility for a reason. No man can get there, despite what you've heard. So that's all hidden from us. We can't get past this line here. Okay? And we can't get out. We can't go beyond the pole area here too far. Okay? Now, this central vortex in here is the vortex of creation. It's basically what protects and creates our whole realm. It's all, our whole realm out here is projected from what's hidden in here, right in the centre. That black dot in there represents this big V in here, the black dot. Not this green zone. The whole green zone around here represents the northern hemisphere. Okay, that's all the northern hemisphere. But right in the centre of it is there's the secret, the hidden place. Right in there. And as this vortex turns, it drives everything up in this S curve. Gets to the top, then comes back down again. So from the side it looks like an S curve. But from above, that half cycle, the S curve, looks like 1/2 the golden ratio. So it's gone wound up, but if it winds back down, it completes the cardanoid. The apple. Where do you think Einstein and all that BS came from? They know. They knew the whole system. They've all been lying to you. Okay? So this turns 24/7. So it's always got a rotation there. So in the night sky, whether you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, you only have to set your camera up for a couple of minutes and you can see there's a circle in your star rotations. If you lived on a spinning ball Earth, how can there be a circle in the night sky if your ball hasn't actually turned not even 15 degrees? How do you get a 360 degree circle in the sky if your Earth has not even revolved 15 degrees? It's all because it's all a projection from the centre here. There's a permanent circle. A vortex. Excuse me. Okay? And in here are all the stars. And the moon. The moon is in here. The moon can be down here or it can be up there. Down here is new moon because it's gone right into the female end of the Milky Way. Remember that the mainland comes over to here. I'll just draw a clean line. Comes out of there over to there. And this is where the black hole in the sun is. The sun's on the horizon. the pure plasma sun, not our sun. Our sun's out here, actually, at the end of the Milky Way. It's seen as an image in our sky due to the light spectrum and the moisture in the atmosphere. It's not a solid object. There's nothing solid above us. No celestial bodies, no solid dome. This is all magnetic flux. And in our realm, it's considered as gas. It's all pressure, based on pressure. Earth is solid. As we leave Earth, it becomes thinner and thinner, the air. Different gaseous states. As you rise up off the Earth, reduces in pressure, doesn't it? Doesn't the magnetic flux reduce in magnetism the further you get away from it? It's the same thing. And if you go down below the Earth, what's happening? It's compacting. 7 layers of compaction, right down to granite. Reducing, 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 up to nothing. You have the non-physical above, the physical below. And what's one of the sayings in mythology, or ancient texts, esoteric, Kabbalistic, whatever, there's nothing solid above your head as there is nothing spiritual below your feet. Remember that. The other one is, remember, the sun is in many places because it's not an object, but only seen in one. Your pupils see your own image within your arc of horizon. There is your sun. Midday sun. Afternoon sun. Okay? All the celestial bodies. Another note is that because the sun stays up here on the 2D plane, it only does a circle. So, although this is part of the story, and it will get very deep and confusing if I try to tell you that, I won't bother. You just consider the sun as doing circles, and that's what it's doing around the flat earth. It just does circles as it winds up or down and out, up and in, down and out, nice circles. But the stars and the moon do the cardioid, the obvious cardioid. Why? Because they do this S-curve. Okay? They do the S-curve. Now let's run over everything I've written here without going too much deeper. If I haven't already lost you. What Earth shape or plan view is that of a sea anemone. Sea anemone. That's it there. That's the plan view looking down. The northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. Tropical gap all the way around there. Why do you think they draw the tropical gaps on all the maps? You know, ancient times. Because they meant something. Quite significant. It's the magic zone of religion in there. Right. The black arrows, understanding the magnetic field, how it's going. It comes up here at the Antarctic region, flows over and comes down here. Now when you're in an aeroplane flying across the tropics, you get a lot of turbulence at this point here. Turbulence. Not right here in the middle. The turbulence is here and the turbulence is there. Don't believe me? Get on a plane. So the magnetic field comes down here, along the ground thou shalt go. Once again, it's all in the Bible, but you can't understand it. Comes down here, along the ground, up here, over the fields, down again. Slither along the ground. Dust thou shalt eat for all thy days. Up and over. Same with the other side. Okay? So it's a changing magnetic field that drives the sun around the tropical gap. Drives the sun around. And the sun driving around draws on the magnetic field. Each one of these magnetic field lines coming out to meet the sun is creating the image of the sun that we we are perceived to see. Okay, we perceive to see the sun there. It's all logical if you refer to physics and all that, but at the end of the day it all comes back to your personal arc of horizon. So like I say, like a magnet, from the beginning of creation, you break it down again to our physical field above the earth, then you can break it down again, come right down to man's personal arc of horizon. So the field comes up at the pole here, at the Arctic, spirals on up to the cold fusion sun. Our plasma sun is run on cold fusion. Okay? You know the sun's not hot out here, don't you? Because, you know, if you fly up higher to get to the sun, it doesn't get any hotter, does it? It gets flipping cold. It's not an object, okay? It's a focal point on the magnetic field lines. You've got to realise at this particular moment in time, to the second, the sun is anywhere on that field line, no matter what latitude. Same with the other in the north. They are both equal. They are mirrored. Remember the mirror effect. As it moves out of the north, comes around into your western horizon, it's coming out of the south and it being seen from your western horizon. But those who are way out in Antarctica in December can see the whole thing do a complete circle around him. Right around his arc of horizon. Not just up and over. You can see it right around his horizon. Okay? We'll get into that deeper later. Done other videos on that. Now, the Arctic vortex, they know about this, they even mention it in meteorologies at times. The winds of the Arctic vortex they mention, refer to. And the Buford Gyre. Buford Gyre is a big whirlpool of water up in the centre North Arctic. It's turning the same way as your night sky. Except you're looking down, there's the whirlpool, but you've got to project that direction all the way up in the sky. So if you're looking down in the Buford Gyre, it's doing a clockwise motion, but if you look up, it's going anti-clockwise, isn't it? It's just the way it is. So that's showing you the vortex, okay? Basically showing you the vortex. You see the stars are turning. The vortex is turning the stars because all the stars are down in here in the vortex. The Buford Gyre is turning. And realise the Buford Gyre is fresh water. Why is it fresh water? We'll get into that. Maybe leave that for another video, okay? Just realise this vortex is turning all the time. The night sky is turning all the time, but we only see half the sky at a time, right? But certain times of the year, like your June solstice, December solstice in the north, we can film the stars and stop time lapse. You will see the star do this. You can track them. They won't do a circle. Okay? Because they're spiraling out of the centre vortex, basically. But because there's so many of them, all goes down into the vortex. It's the only time you can believe what I'm saying here with this cardioid. Okay? So in the June solstice, you see the sun, you can film the sun do a circle. But it's the opposite you want to do. You want to film the stars and watch the stars do this spiral motion, as opposed to the sun's just the plain circle. Okay? And that's the same in the southern hemisphere. They want to be being there in the winter and filming the stars do the spiral or the cardioid. That would be really buzzy. Okay, so understanding the vortex and the Buford Gyre below. North Pole, dead centre is the black hole. This is basically the black hole, but it's all up here. Okay. Now, we go back to creation. You've got to understand that the fixed plane of Earth is from the black hole. It's all expressed out. It's like this big inverted explosion. It's all been exposed out of the black hole to create our magical realm. It's like I described in the 3D plane. It all comes from this black hole. Earth is from the hole. I'll get into that in the next video, okay? I better make a note of that. Earth is from the hole. Hope I don't lose that. Later video going a bit deep, real buzzy. When you understand that, you're going to understand you'll understand the physics and why they've gone that way, as opposed to telling you the truth. So, let's read this. There are two things to consider. Singularity, the place of creation is singularity, where the sun is male and female. Then it becomes separated. And that's when all this is exposed. When the 3D plane is exposed, created from the illumination of the sun, it becomes a dual world, and we live in this dual world. A north and a south pole, male and female, weak force, strong force, day and night, expansion and contraction, up and in, down and out. Okay? So when the sun is illuminated, bingo, creates the 3D realm. It separates the female from the male. The moon is now separated from the sun. The female has come away from the sun. So, believe it or not, the moon is actually the sun. But we'll get into that in another video, okay? It's going deep. So, let's go back to singularity. The place of singularity, down through here, the black hole. Then you've got the dual system created off that. There are two things to consider. Singularity, the place of creation. It's the place of creation in there, basically. Place of creation. Everything is projected from. As this terms, our whole realm out here is projected. All this is projected from that dead center. 2. The projected / created realm that is from the place of creation, now dual, which is the place that we all exist in, called Earth. Excuse me. And Earth is an enclosed self-generating system. Now, two more aspects to consider. There are two aspects in understanding our realm. One, a physical aspect, and the other, the non-physical aspect. You have to start thinking, using your mind, at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, nothing is actually physical. If you can grasp this concept, you are halfway home. For example, we and everything else on Earth expand as we move from north to south, so-called south, and contract back from the south to the north. That's a terrific example of why we're not physical. You have to believe that and understand that. It's just a chip in our head that makes us think we're physical, and it's to do with magnetism, the atoms, repulsion and attraction, feeling something, to do with atoms. And atoms are basic little dynamo, magnetic dynamos. Okay, what have we got here? The North Poles as projections from the centre North Pole. So all the way around here, consider them all a multitude of meridian lines straight across from north to south, mirrored from the north all the way around here. Once again, consider December solstice, suns all the way around on everybody's arc of horizon, but in fact it's fully illuminated. For those who must perceive everything in a physical nature will never see the light. You will never accept or understand the flat earth model and the nature of our realm. You might as well stay with globe theory. It is for the lower conscious state of man. Come back when you are really ready to then. Till then, keep quiet. Just zip it. You know nothing. Okay? What have we got here? Man can only see his world around him from inside his own personal arc of horizon. 360 degrees all around him, 180 degrees over him. And all the celestial bodies are seen perpendicular from the arc back to the observer. The Egyptians wrote all about this. They call it the man's arc of horizon. You think the ancient Egyptians are dumb? And you need lobotomy. Within a circle of this is the observer in the circle within a circle of the flat earth. A circle within a circle. Enoch talks about. Well, there's the circle. There's a circle at man's horizon. Circle within the circle. Okay? And all the celestial bodies turn up in his horizon. They move. There's different gates in the season as to where the flux of the magnetic field is going and the sun moving up and in. So the gates represent where the sun's arriving in the morning over the year. The gates on the west is where it's going down over the year. Man is looking out from the centre of the universe, seeing everything pass over him, as opposed to around him, which is back at creation. Okay? Instead of seeing everything come around us like if we're back in creation, looking out from the centre, the black hole, we are perpendicular to creation, made vertical. So we see things come into our horizon with a flat plane, come into our horizon, go over it as it goes on around the earth. Imagine your dome. Realise you've got a dome. Okay, so that's that. I hope you all understand that. Okay, now connecting flat earth with the human mind, the brain, why man is from the earth. Well, look what we've got here. 2 hemispheres of your brain. Does it have a gap between the hemispheres? Yes, it does. Look where the perceived sun is that we see. Now understand the Son of Man, his pineal gland is in that region as well. But opposite the sun, full moon, is the pituitary gland in the brain. Let's not get too technical, but our brain replicates the celestial bodies, okay? You've got your pineal gland, you've got your pituitary gland, and you've got the hypothalamus as a trinity, the third entity, but it's going a bit further. We're not going to get there yet. So understand the connection. You can have that as one hemisphere, and this is the hemisphere, and there's the main sun. But you break it down again, like a magnet, like I keep saying, and move that centre, the centre of creation here, now becomes our centre out here. In our physical world, and how we can perceive things in physics. So everything hidden in here is now exploded out here in a microscopic point of view. Okay? See with the weak force out here and strong force? Our 2 brains are different. Left to right, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Okay? Okay, now let me show you something pretty. This is how the system works. This was created by Aurea and his brother here in New Zealand, a couple of Patreons of mine. This represents the northern hemisphere. Once again, we've made it equal. There is a 3:2 ratio, but we've made it equal. There's the northern hemisphere. It represents the southern hemisphere, how it revolves all the way around the north. As the north hemisphere vortex of creation turns, its projected image moves this image around. But there's always an image out here, isn't it? Because it's all coming from the centre. It's all mirrored. We've got to consider the backdrop of the night sky, and the screen is the moisture in the sky, the atmosphere, whatever. It's the moisture, and that's why we see the stars sitting in there. They're all holographic projections. All the celestial bodies are just holographic projections. You can never gain on them, because man can never gain on his arc of horizon. He moves, the arc moves. But they're just there. Okay? Understand that. So these you see to north. As this turns, all the images around here will turn. But realise one full rotation here is one full rotation around here. But everybody on this meridian will see a northern sky go like this and the southern sky go like this. So these can be considered as one man's arc of horizon from here to there, a meridian. So as the north turns, look what happens. They all align. These yellow lines represent the Milky Way. The straw in the teacup that comes out of here over to the tropical gap. So it's moving around the tropical gap, moving around the tropics. It's what it does. Nighttime, daytime. They all marry up. They're all marrying up, aren't they? That's how it works. But you have to imagine all these, there's infinite. They're infinite. Everybody has one. But there is only one centre. It's the Godhead, you could say. There's only one divine point of singularity. Everything else is false. It's a projection. Even the stars in this northern sky is a projection from down inside the vortex. Okay? All the stars up into the north are projected from within this vortex, straight up, as it turns. But due to the parabolic curving of our night sky, it causes this image to go down and spin backwards like this and be cast into the sky like this. And due to the parabolic curve of the sky, it brings the image back to the observer. So all those stars get projected back to a nice little circle out on the horizon of the observer. Okay? Those stars are these stars, but backwards. So in the southern hemisphere you're seeing the stars inverted. They're backwards to the stars in the north, but they are the same stars. The southern crux and the false cross represent the two the two teapots, the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper. Wipe away the teapot image they put in your face to hide the truth, and draw a cross. So you get an image of the cross, the Big Dipper. Draw a dark picture so it comes through the other side of the paper, and that's the image of your southern hemisphere crux. But remember, it's distorted because the southern field is expanded and it's rotating opposite directions, going in an opposite way. You've got to think of all that. You've got to use this. Okay, so at some point, look, the Milky Way will line up with the southern hemisphere Milky Way. The north and south will meet, married together like this. Marries there for that guy, marries for that guy, marries for that guy, marries for that guy. Okay? Okay, I hope I've still got you there, and we'll move on to the next board. Let's go back to the two hemispheres again. They're like a cell, a split cell, separating, bang, become dual, come back to singularity again. That's showing us our realm, how we go through life you die, come back and do it again. That's the cycle of time, in and out, in and out. It's reincarnation. Our whole system is about expansion and contraction, going in and coming back in, going out and coming back in. Well, you can see this on quantum mechanics where they're using a called an electron or a cell, whatever. You know, it's being squeezed apart and popping back in. Remember that gap between the two here is the gap we see, a distinctive gap where we see Orion's belt come through. Specifically in December you could film it and see Orion's belt coming straight. Star trail photography will show you a star rotation in the south. I look to the north, I'll see a little bit on the horizon. But you stand back and aim your camera to the celestial equator, you'll see the north on the horizon, and you'll see your sky coming around like this. And there's this marrying point in the two curves. You film it right, you can use Orion's belt as a reference point. And you get the beautiful straight lines of Orion's belt coming through the gap. They are not curved like the rest of the stars here, or the north. They are just going straight, because they're not attached to the rotations, the two star rotations of each hemisphere. So here we have the images of the cell parting. There's the big 3:2 ratio. We'll just stick with the two cells the same size relative to the observer. But you realise it's a lot bigger. So there's a ratio difference, and that boils down to potential difference in capacitance when it comes to creating energy, electromagnetic induction, creating power. Okay, there's a difference. But here I'm just showing you the separation of the cell. Bingo. And you look, there is a magical spot, it's all described in religion, called the Physica Pisces. Okay? Won't go there now. Here's another example of the Milky Way. It comes out of the tropical gap, goes over to the centre Arctic. So there's one northerner's day cycle around him. And right opposite, mirrored out to the south, is the southern sun moving around the observer. Or up and over. He doesn't see that whole image unless it's December solstice. When he's out in Antarctica, you'll see it go around like this. So he's got to understand. He's got to understand the two compasses. That's what he has to understand. Because if he takes a northern hemisphere compass, it's going to spin around and face north this way. Then he's going to get confused. Well, he might not, but you know, he's got to realise north from south. So when he sees the sun pointing this way, which is what we call south, but it's actually still a north pole, that will be midnight. Midnight up here in the north. Okay? So the sun comes around and pops out on the east here for someone in the northern hemisphere at 9 AM. It's going to come around from the south this way for this guy down here in Antarctica. He's going to see it over there at 9 AM. They're coming around and merging like this, coming towards the tropics. And this is what happens to the field as the season changes. It's moving up and into the northern June solstice, equinox, solstice, sorry, yeah. And then it moves out and then completely pops out and goes around. And then it gradually starts coming back in. It's getting a bit technical. Over here we have the vortex of creation. There it is, the female. So the ecliptic plane is the 2D realm. It's 2D. Collapses back to nothing. Look, nothing. Black hole. 2D plane. Flat. Nothing. No life. As soon as the sun is illuminated, bingo, creates the 3D depth. And look, it all appears. Life comes into existence through magic, magnetism. This is the 3D realm created from the sun that stays in the 2D plane. Sun stays there, it does some small circles. When that's doing small circles, the moon, which is the sun too, is out here doing a big S-curve. From there, all the way around, down to new moon. Then it comes back up again around the other side. It's showing you the separation between female and male. But when the moon comes back into the sun, it goes back to singularity. It's showing you the expansion and contraction. Birth and death, say. But it's the meaning to life also. Finding singularity, finding your way back home. That's the whole Jesus story, the whole religious story. Going back to singularity, becoming one. Male and female. The whole story of Jesus. This is unification, finding his lost Lilith. Because when we come into the physical world, we are separated. Man is separated from the female entity. The whole religious story is mainly about the male. Because he is the hermaphrodite up here, Christ, the Son. He becomes separated from Lilith, from the moon, Maya, Mary. But they get back together. But that's getting into solar eclipses and all that. But I'll do another big video on that. Okay, let's just stick with the flat earth. Okay, so this is magic from the magnetism. The circles in the 2D plane become elliptic motions in the 3D created realm. Because ellipses, this S-curve will create ellipses. But really they're 2D up here. I mean, just circles. This motion is due to the S-curve inside the vortex of creation, hidden in the center Arctic, where it spirals up to meet the cold fusion plasma sun. The core of this vortex is the female end of the Milky Way. Down there's the female end of the Milky Way, spiraling up to the sun. Male comes over this way, remember? Male comes over from the tropical gap, where it's been created from both sides of the tropics. It's a dual entity. The core of the vortex is the female end of the Milky Way. The male end comes over from the tropical gap, where capacitance creates the electromagnetic induction. Both ends of the Milky Way meeting at the plasma sun to create the hermaphrodite plasma in the tight magnetic field of the Arctic. Hermaphrodite, it's all described in religious texts and all the myths and legends. We'll get into that one down in another video. So as the sun's parting here, the cell is splitting, the sun is moving down and out for the southern summer. There's all the pomegranates. And the sun is all the way around the perimeter. Then it comes back up and in, down and out. When the sun is fully down and out in the ecliptic plane, that follows the flexing of the ecliptic plane, remember, we have 24-hour sun in the Antarctic. When the ecliptic plane is fully up and in, we have 24-hour sun in the Arctic. Right, what have we got down here? Earth is a dual cell, but reverts back to singularity in the way of a conjoined cell, showing us the duality of our realm, but not separated from creation, singularity, because we're left here to find our way back home. This is the cycle of expansion and contraction, life and death. So in our realm, we're designed to find our way back home, so we're not fully detached from the mother of creation. In the physical world we had the umbilical cord cut. We're disconnected. That shows us that's not our true divine parent, mother. Our divine mother of creation is the moon. She is the overall creator of all things. And it's all hidden in the vortex here. Mary is the mother. Honour thy mother and thy father means honour the sun and the moon. The Freemasons worship the sun. They know all about it. But there's a satanic entity to the Freemasons. Most Freemasons don't even know about it. Let's not go there. We're going to become one as in singularity. You become one. So the sun is in the northern hemisphere here. But as it moves out, separated December solstice pops out around the southern hemisphere. But understand the 3:2 ratio goes into Phi. And that's going deep too. Okay, we're going to get on to magnets. Compasses here. Understanding the northern hemisphere compass always points to Arctic North and weighted on the south end so it doesn't dip. But in the southern hemisphere, that same compass will turn and aim south because south is actually a north pole. The Arctic is the same as the Antarctic is the same as the Arctic. This is why they have created a separate compass for the southern hemisphere. They just put the north arrow on the other end. The two south poles are actually back at the tropics, either side of the tropics, to create magnetic induction from the dielectric. It's the dielectrical gap, in that gap there. Go and check out your physics. The dielectric, where the energy is supplied back to the plane of creation, place of creation, to the real unseen plasma sun. The sun used for atomic timekeeping. Now I went deep and finally found this. They know about it in science, the other sun. I got this off a Chinese guy telling the story. The fact we are not detached from creation. So once again, atomic timekeeping. Once again, this is explaining the dual conjoined cell system. The fact we are not detached from creation. The Milky Way is our umbilical cord. Back to home. Now you hear a lot of people going towards the light. Well, they're going through the Milky Way. They get to the light and they get turned back. Unlike the physical world, where we are detached from our mother. This is showing us that our physical mother is not the divine mother. There is only one true mother of creation. And that all concerns singularity. We all have to go back to the place of singularity. That's the way out of the matrix. We live in a dual world, which is all trickery, lies, death and destruction. There's another entity. And that's truth and peacefulness. And they come together. You leave the bad stuff behind, go into a place of balance between the mind and the body. This is all about meditation, raising your consciousness and all that, but we'll get into those videos later. So I hope that was clear to all those who are starting out in their flat earth journey. To really truly understand that, you need to do a lot of your own homework and research. Ask questions. But our whole life cycle is about asking the right question. It's even mythological stories or Kabbalistic texts. It mentions there, what's the question? You have to ask the question, what is the question? You go online and ask the wrong question, they'll give you the lie. You go online and ask the right question, they reveal the truth. And it's the same story for instance, was the compass. Go deep. Say, go and make your inquiries about the compass and the two poles, and they'll tell you one rises and one enters. One leaves the pole at the bottom, one goes in at the top. Well, if one's leaving and one's going in, why does the compass dip at both? Come on. No, that you ask the right question. Say, why does my compass dip at both the Arctic and the Antarctic? They go, oh, funny thing. And then they tell you the truth. It's all about asking the right questions. So let's run over it. But it all starts from a flat plane of inertia, dark and void, till the sun is illuminated. Then boom, it creates the magical 3D depth. And due to that 3D depth, it creates our whole duality, our whole realm. It separates the male from the female. Okay? All that 3D depth is brought about from magic, which is magnetism. Understanding everything is magnetism. The two forces of nature are magnetism. Gravity is just the two forces of nature, magnetism. They come together on the flat plane, from above and below. Bang! They keep us to the earth. It's why it's hard to jump. You're trying to get away from the earth? No, the forces of nature are pushing you to the earth. You go but try to swim below the sea level. What's happening? You're being pushed up. Okay? Sea. So you can consider the bottom of earth going like this, but it's all earth. It's the water that's pushing you back up, and the moisture from above, whatever. The two forces of nature bring you to the flat plane of inertia. It's simple. Simple. You've all been like, all your history is a lie. You know, they're taking mythological stories and turn them into your history. All the silly stories of history are explaining a divine bent in regards to the meaning of life. And it's all hidden from you. And they've stretched the whole story out, like expanding Southern Hemisphere, like our realm is stretched out. They've stretched the story out and put it out there in Dodo Land. And you all think, oh, that's how this is. Whew. Anyway, thanks for watching. And if you really want to understand more, you need to get onto my Patreon page. Check it out. And to go much deeper, you need to go into my Saints. That's $20 a month. It's $20 Kiwi a month to pick up on all the follow-up videos of a foundation video I've put in Floodgates. To get to the top, you need to buy that Floodgates video. It's a foundation to everything, and then you can build on that. You need to understand this about the flower of life. So check it out anyway. It'll cost you a couple of bucks, but you can always jump back out later. But all the divine information's in there. You need to get on paper. You won't find it anywhere else in the world. I'm telling you now. I'm the only guy who explains the whole flat earth physics. I can connect it to all religions. All religions, all myths and legends. No one else can do it. Trust me. Anyway, if you like this sort of thing, put a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm shadow banned, so my channel hasn't gone far. You have to come here to find the truth. So once again, thanks for watching, and thanks to my subscribers for paying for this new camcorder. Really appreciate it. And let's just carry on with the truth. Cheers.